Coming soon to a city near you, Vinitaly Roadshow. Have you ever wondered how to attend Vinitaly for free? Are you a wine trade professional interested in a sponsored trip to Vinitaly International Academy or Vinitaly, the Wine and Spirits Exhibition? Coming soon to Princeton, New Jersey, Harlem, New York, and Chinatown in New York City, Cardiff in Wales, London in England, and Roost in Austria. We'll be giving away our new textbook, Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0. Find out more about these exciting events, and for details on how to attend, go to liveshop.vinitaly.com. Limited spots available. Sign up now. We'll see you soon. Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. I'm Cynthia Chaplin, and this is Voices. Every Wednesday, I will be sharing conversations with international wine industry professionals, discussing issues in diversity, equity, and inclusion through their personal experiences working in the field of wine. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your pods. Hello, and welcome to Voices. This is me, Cynthia Chaplin, and today I am so happy to welcome Victoria Mulu-Munywoki to Voices. She is a renowned sommelier from Kenya, where she founded CELLAR254, the first online wine store in the country. Victoria was also the captain of Team Kenya Wine, the very first all-female squad to compete at the World Blind Tastings Championships, and that was just held in Champagne in France in October 2022. They came 26th, coming only one place behind the USA and beating Team Italy by 2 places. So I'm not that happy, but I'm super impressed. So welcome to the show, Victoria. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia. I'm so excited to be on your show.
Well, you've got so much going on. I can't wait to talk to you. I think for most of our listeners, it's fair to say that Kenya is not a recognized wine powerhouse in the world in terms of growing or producing or even importing. But I think that's on the brink of changing. So tell us how you got interested in wine. When did that journey start for you? How did you become a sommelier?
It's such a long story. And I'm so excited about being a sommelier now. But it started 23 years ago. And it started when I was working in finance in Germany, in Frankfurt to be precise. And I worked at Deutsche Bank at the time. And my boss at the time took us out to a working lunch. And I don't know if this is typical of Germans, but he did all the ordering for the team, the food, the water, and the wine. And I didn't grow up around wine. I was, a vodka expert, as you do in university, and also because I was previously living in Slovakia. And he ordered this wine, and I was really, really intrigued. I didn't even know how to hold a wine glass. I had no clue what wine tastes like. I was really intimidated, but everyone else around the group seemed quite comfortable with it. So after the lunch, I purposed to find out more about wine. I was very challenged. And one of my colleagues told me about wine classes and sessions that were happening in Wiesbaden at the time. And I started going to those. And I think that's where the bug caught me. There was endless information.
Well, and Germany is a great place to start because they have such an ancient wine culture too.
Absolutely. And they have beautiful wine regions as well. And, the tutor as well in Wiesbaden was very gentle and was a very good communicator because he would interweave all the geography and the history and the terroir. Fascinating. He was a good storyteller. So I fell in love with the wine at the time, but I didn't stop working in finance until about 8 years later. After different career moves, that's when I decided, okay, that's it. I'm tired of going into the city on a stinky tube early in the morning, and I just made the leap at that time, and I have never looked back. So I did my courses, my classes, and then moved to Spain as well, where I lived for 3 years, and I was doing a lot of hands-on work in the sommelier world and visiting wineries and doing part-time work in a restaurant. And here I am now. When I moved back to Kenya, it was a natural progression just to go back into the wine business and try and spread the gospel of wine.
I think that's what all of us who are really passionate about it want to do. And I love hearing your story. It's similar to mine. Got very interested in wine back when I was in university and lived all over Europe and doing different things and really having to put yourself out there and take that leap and leave your old career. Mine was psychology and publishing and make that push to get into wine. It's not easy. It's a little scary. And it's especially scary, I think, for you in some ways. I mean, you had a great business career. You were doing well. You're very well educated. So you gave that up to make the change. And you've talked a lot about girls in Kenya being at a disadvantage in the society, where traditional roles have the girls doing all the work and the boys are being waited on. How did you get past that? How do you see the connection between what you're doing now and that traditional role in the past? You broke out of it, you moved into education, you got a master's degree, you moved into the wine world. What pushed you past those traditional roles and got you to where you are?
You put that so well. When I think about what pushed me, it's mainly the need to make a difference, just the need to, change status quo. It's part of our culture to be, as women, to perhaps do a lot more of the domestic chores, and we just born responsible. This is what my friends and I like to say, like at a very young age you're being told clear the table, wash the dishes, make your bed, and it's just a natural role that you grow up in, and you don't realize how imbalanced that is until you go into a different culture. So even by the time I moved abroad, I was very comfortable being an African girl, a Kenyan girl, and knowing at the back of my head, it doesn't matter how successful you are, there's still that traditional role that you have to do, and you have to fit in very well. But I think being exposed to a different world, a different culture, I did feel like if I can work in Europe and be successful and be accepted and sort of spread my wings in whatever direction I want while still staying true to my culture, I think I can transfer that back home. And as you said earlier, Kenya, we are not a wine drinking culture. In fact, we only have one commercial winery, and we are like, 72nd in the world in importing wine. So we don't really feature much. But what we do like and what we have plenty of is good food. And who does most of the cooking? Women. Girls from a very young age. I mean, things have changed now from back in my time. So it was very easy for me to see how well I can sort of advance my agenda and how well I can sort of get a lot more people to appreciate wine, but also inspire more women to consider it as a career. Like, it's not very, very rewarding at the beginning, but with time and with patience, you can get to past where I am. And there's many women in the trade now who are really enjoying the success of it. So how did I break out of that? I have to say it's just working hard and not giving up and having a goal. And I didn't do it alone. Along the way, there were so many supporting people. Like, for example, when I was doing my WSET course, no, actually, initially, even in Germany, when I was going back and forth to Wiesbaden during my free time, I had a friend who I would come and bond with and taste different wines with. And, she would tell me all about Germany and the wine growing areas. And I went to visit, her place in Hamburg and saw their wine cellars, first time in my life. I mean, there's always been someone who's putting wind beneath my wings. And same thing when I started my courses at WSET, the tutors, and I remember I was a minority in the class, but none of the tutors made that an issue. I mean, everybody around me, as is in the wine world, they were very helpful and there was no stupid questions. So I did feel very comfortable even then. Same thing in Spain. People opened their doors. I got jobs. I was given a chance to try, how to be a sommelier and to work in the industry and see if I can hack it. So I have to say, financially, it wasn't an easy move for the family, but with the support of my immediate family, I have two girls, and my husband is very supportive with his career change and with moving around the world. And he was part of the journey, and that has really, really helped me move.
It's so interesting. That's so interesting what you say about breaking these roles and being successful and finding your path, but still sort of honoring your culture and being really a leading light for your family. I think people forget that in a lot of careers, and certainly in wine. A lot of wine careers take place at night. We don't see our families as much as we'd like to. I have a husband who doesn't drink and is very, very understanding about my crazy life. And I have 6 children, 4 daughters. So being a leading light for young people, it's not always easy, as you say. Our industry isn't very conducive to making it easy for young women to get in, and it sounds like even more difficult in Kenya. So it's incredible what you've managed to achieve in the 23 years since you've started tasting wine and learning how to hold a wine glass. I mean, it's a lot. So I think that kind of real glass ceiling smashing that you've done is such an inspiration to people. And this is why chatting with you today is just making me so happy. I know you ended up working for a company called Ethno Vino for about a decade. Who's Ethno Vino? What were you doing there?
Ethnovino is actually me. That's my company. So I started it in 2012, and it's a really wine education services company. And the aim of starting this company was just to I needed in Kenya to create a discerning community of people who, one, enjoy wine, 2, enjoy networking, because when you move back home, there's always that culture shock. You think, you knew people back then and they should remember you now, but it's not always the case. You have to sort of reestablish.
Oh, good Lord. It definitely is not. You're so right.
Isn't it? But at the same time, the wine knowledge was dismal. And, I was on a mission as well to make sure I raise the wine knowledge and at the same time promote responsible drinking, because I think a lot of drinking in Kenya is very much around, let's drink until we can't drink anymore, if you like. But it's also because those are not conversations that people have. How do you enjoy this wine at the best possible way, and what is responsible besides drink and driving? Have your wine with food and things like that. Also, lastly, I kept coming home on holidays, and the quality and availability of fantastic wine was almost non-existent. So there was a lot of sweet wine, there still is, and basic red wines. And I also wanted to make sure that the variety of wines available, the quality of producers is also high. I had no idea how I was going to do that, but it really worked. So a year into me starting the business, I had the biggest company at the time, who are still very close to my heart, Wines of the World, take me on, and I started working with them. And, that was, I think, one of the other biggest blessings, because through working with this big company that had more than 1,000 SKUs of wine from all over the world, I was able to sharpen my skills in so many other ways, like business development, connect with the consumer, host as many events as possible, and just work with them towards, managing the portfolio and introducing new and different, weird and wonderful wines into Kenya that didn't exist before. And so I still work under Ethno Vino as a wine consultant for the last 6 years now, since I left Wines of the World in 2013. No, 2015. I'm losing track of time now. The years are flying by. But we still work closely together, as I do with many other importers and producers, to just ensure that, wine education is happening, wine appreciation is happening, cellar management for people, but also that producers have an avenue and a platform in Kenya, because I think the best way to sell wine for a non-wine drinking country is to get the people behind the labels, the product themselves, to come and talk about their products from time to time. And we are quite enjoying that, especially in the recent past few years. So wine producers had been coming before the pandemic. And then again, during the pandemic, we had the In Your Cellar series, where we had webinars and they were here virtually. But what's been fantastic is that after the pandemic, there are many producers who've been coming to Kenya, and there's nothing as special as, in a country that doesn't have a strong wine culture, than that first-hand information, that contact with the producers, the experts, the winery owners, the brand owners. That has really, compelled the consumers in Kenya to appreciate wine even better. And you see that even with the numbers from South African wine imports. The South Africans are constantly here, and the French now. And you can see how much they're reaping rewards from that contact and from that education as well.
So it's amazing how, after the pandemic, the wine market has really picked up in Kenya. You've said there's a lot of stakeholder engagement taking place. And, I'm guessing, and you alluded to the fact that South Africa, wines from South Africa are big in Kenya because it's easy to get them. Obviously, it's not so far to transport. But I'm kind of wondering, fill us in a bit on the wine scene in Kenya. Who's drinking wine there right now? Is it mostly men or women or young people, old people? What's the average spend on a bottle? What is the average consumer doing? Who are you educating? Who are you talking to about wine right now?
Cynthia, it's such exciting times in Kenya because wine is being drunk across all demographics. So the young people are interested now, and so they're experimenting, they're trying dry styles of wines. Of course, everyone starts on the sweeter styles. They're more accessible, they're affordable, easier to understand. But we're seeing people going now towards grape varieties, and it's fantastic. So the young people are drinking, the older generation as well. Those are the more discerning. Of course, they have a higher purchasing power, and they're the more discerning clientele base. And they drink by provenance and by grape varieties, and they have their own preferred wines that they do drink. And then we have the curious people in between. And these are the ones who are in the middle of the road, and they're not loyal, and they drink all sorts of things, gin, whiskey, anything that's being marketed, they do drink. But those are the best consumers. And those cut across both males and females. They're around 25 to, 30 to 42 years old. And that's where the bulk of the purchasing power is. And those are the main clients that I do have. They're on their first or second jobs. They have disposable incomes. Today we talk about Malbecs, they'll drink Malbecs. If we talk about Amarones, they will drink Amarones. So it's a good mix of people drinking wine, both young and older. And the average spend at the moment is around 10, 11 euros, is about $12, if I'm not wrong. That's the sweet spot in retail. On trade, it's a bit different because every hospitality outlet, restaurants, hotels have different markups that are completely atrocious and unreasonable.
Of course, everywhere.
But the sweet spot is around maybe $5 by the glass, and by the bottle at around 4,000 shillings. That equates to, would I dare say, maybe 25 euro per bottle. So pretty expensive. So a lot of the sales, obviously, are being driven by modern retail supermarkets and specialist wines and spirit stores. And online is big now in Kenya.
Well, that takes me straight to the next thing I wanted to ask you about, because you started CELLAR254 in 2016, and you're still the CEO there. And it was the very first online wine store in Kenya. What inspired you to start this business? Most people started online businesses during the pandemic, but you got in the door first. How did you get that off the ground? And how many countries have you got on your list at the moment?
I have to say I was very lucky because I was driven by the need for convenience. Half the time I never used to plan for drinking, and then I would get back home after a very long day and I wanted a good bottle of wine, but then the supermarkets and the specialist stores were closed. So convenience is what drove me to innovation. And mind you, I had a different experience living abroad. Online stores were not so difficult. I mean, there were quite a few in Spain, in the UK, and the supermarket chains had also started going online. So I had also some sort of experience with the fact that things can be done differently, they can be done better, and give people a different proposition, and kaboom, you have a business going. And that's how CELLAR254 was born. In fact, CELLAR254 was born in one of my MBA classes in the evening, because I took evening classes as well. And that idea, the light bulb moment, was actually in 2015 in one of my MBA classes. So in a way, I also have Strathmore Business School to thank for this. And I'm glad I started it. Now, there's quite a few people, there's quite a few successful online stores. The only difference with CELLAR254 is that I sell wine only, exclusively. And my colleagues in the industry who have online stores, they do sell a mix of wine, spirits, and perhaps even mixers, etc. They're fully fledged liquor stores.
So anybody in Kenya who is serious about their wine wants to come to your online shop because you're doing just wine and really keeping your focus pure. I like that.
I very much hope they do, because the idea as well was to curate the wines. And I have done that online on CELLAR254 in a very accessible language and incorporate as well local food. I'll often say pair with ugali and skuma, which is a local staple, pair with githeri, pair with nyama choma, which is barbecued meat. And so it helps connect the consumer to the business and the product in an easier way, because let's face it, wine labels can be intimidating and the English used is not for everybody, So I think that was the success of CELLAR254. And I actually think that I can still work a lot more towards using local language, local nuances, get people more comfortable with such an intimidating product wine.
Well, you're singing my song, because language in wine is a real focus point for me. I think language keeps people out of wine. A lot of labels are in French, or they're in German, or they're in Italian. As you said, it's intimidating. And a lot of it, you bring up such a good point about food pairings. If you look up what to pair this wine with, it'll be some sort of food that's probably not readily available in Kenya. And I think making that move to opening the door for new wine students to start pairing international wines with their local foods is so crucial. And it is one of the most fun things to do. I love doing that. So I'm really excited to hear you're doing that. I'm going to have to take a look at this when I get off this conversation.
There's 10 countries represented. So please do 10 different countries, many different wines. Initially, I had 17 countries, but we have distribution issues in Kenya, infrastructure, and of course, COVID has changed the way we do business.
Well, before I let you go, I'm not letting you off the hook, because I have so many more things I want to talk to you about. I really want to hear about the World Blind Tasting Championships. Kenya had never participated before, so you were the very first team. And even better, from my point of view, the competition had never had an all-women team competing. So you and your team were really like huge groundbreakers on a lot of levels at this competition. So tell us a little bit about the team that was with you, and how did you all get together, and why on earth did you decide to take on this challenge? I mean, you have enough going on. It's very obvious. Did you get inspired by the guys from Team Zimbabwe? Now they're famous with their film Blind Ambition. What made you decide, okay, we're going to go to the World Wine Tasting Competitions?
We were so lucky to have been introduced to this World Blind Tasting Championship by two Zimbabweans. You won't believe this, but honestly, we always talk about Ubuntu and the spirit of Ubuntu, where we refer to the golden rule of I am because you are. But Joseph Dafana was in Kenya, and he was here promoting his new wine, the Mosi Bordeaux blend. And so he was being hosted by his importer, Under the Influence, whose general manager is a friend of mine, lovely Zimbabwean woman called Diane Chimboza. So Diane invites all the stakeholders, the important stakeholders in the business of wine in Kenya. So all the sommeliers, some importers and restaurateurs. And Joseph talks to us about his wines. And then at the end of the tasting, he looks at us and says, he said, Kenyans, you're very good with wine. And I really like this interaction. Have you heard of the World Blind Tasting Competition? And he just piqued our curiosity, and we said no. So he told us all about it, and we said, okay, we're going to form a team, and thereafter we're going to come for advice from you. And that night, one of us started a WhatsApp group with all the sommeliers and asked who's interested. And guess what? As if by coincidence, girls came through. Naturally, men think differently from females. So men had
and women really make that saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person. Women know how to keep all the balls in the air.
Isn't that amazing about women? And, we didn't ask the questions. We didn't know who was going to pay for us, where we're going to sleep, how we're going to go about it. Do we even have the wine? All five of us came to, we can do this. Let's figure it out as we move. And so Melissa, Joy, Soraya, and Beverly, we started practicing the same weekend. And before Joseph left back for South Africa, that was 24 hours later, he invited us to his hotel and he taught us everything we needed to know. You have never met a more generous, humble sommelier. Like, we call him Joe. We've adopted him. We want him to be Kenyan. But I think he was so giving. He even told us the tricks, how it works. And he said, if you need anything, add me to the WhatsApp group. I will answer any question. For him, he didn't look at it as competition. He just thought, I am going to mentor my Kenyan sisters, and they're going to be on the map. And he put us together with Philippe Cantenac, the organizer, and Redon, JB Redon, who used to be the South African coach, for any questions. Like, it's just amazing, Cynthia, how people can be so giving without, considering themselves as getting disadvantaged by it. And when we went to France, we met the other four, so Malvin, Tinashe, and Pardon, and we now call them our brothers in wine because they really looked after us like their little sisters. Like, where are you guys going to eat? Have you practiced? Let's taste this together. And at some point, we even forgot that we were in the same competition, competing against each other. It was wonderful. It was such a joy. It's so easy working with women in a women team because we understand each other. We know our ups and downs, and we also know how difficult the industry is. But the one thing that united us for this competition was a drive. We were hungry. We were hungry to do well. We were proud to be representing Kenya, and we did not want to let the country down, let alone ourselves. The other thing that really helped us with this competition is the support. Kenyans were just so behind us. We had a GoFundMe page that was set up as a suggestion by Jane Flanagan, who writes for the Times, I believe. And, they were contributing as little as $1, $100, $1,000 at a time. It was just unbelievable.
Are you enjoying this podcast? Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel, Mama Jumbo Shrimp, for fascinating videos covering Stevie Kim and her travels across Italy and beyond, meeting winemakers, eating local foods, and taking in the scenery. Now, back to the show.
And the main reason why we did so well is because our importers supported us so beautifully. They gave us free samples of wine to practice with, and they went beyond that and organized with their producers in Europe to send samples to our hotel room in Champagne, and we carried on practicing. The wine industry in Kenya is so small and so tight-knit, but look at that kindness. I believe human beings are inherently good, but particularly in the wine industry, people are just so generous, kind, and this is what makes the industry so special. And we're so grateful for our importers. And also the local media, Business Daily documented it, and that's how it was grabbed. And, the international media ran with it. So we are grateful for everybody who really pushed us forward.
And I feel like, the shining light that was thrown at us by the media, it just gave us that confidence that, come on, girls, we can do this. We are like beacons for the other women, upcoming female sommeliers in the world, and we have to really be good role models. And we have literally BBC Africa to thank because they picked it up and they ran with it. In fact, I don't know if you know it, Cynthia, but they covered it in Champagne. They actually came and, covered the whole competition and, reported on it. And we sort of felt like, it was a spur of the moment. We agreed to participate spontaneously, but the joy that we got from just all the support from across the world and from our country specifically, and the boys, the Zimbabweans, really, we would like to give that to another group. And we're participating again this time. But it was such a good experience. All the countries as well came together. And you mentioned women as the only women team. Actually, when we got there, the Team USA were also an all-female team. And Kirsten Schubert from Team USA had been in touch prior to the competition. And she's amazing. Their team is amazing. And they invited us to practice with them at one of the Champagne houses. The power of women is just amazing. And then Team South Africa with Heidi as well. Heidi works for Canacop as well. She was in touch, need anything, girls, let's go out and practice together. It was beautiful. And I think this is what the wine world is and should be like. It's just about togetherness. It's about loving each other and healthy competition. We have to grow. All of us have to grow from this. And, for the world to move in the right direction, we all have to help each other, and we're very grateful. And what shocked us also is that Jancis Robinson, who's like a revered, like,
oh, she's my icon.
Oh my God, she's our icon times 100. She's the goddess of wine. And you won't believe how humble she is. She reached out, she helped us, she supported us with knowledge, of course, and followed up to see how we are doing. So, it's a huge responsibility as we talk about this, is we're not just representing Kenya, but there's many people out there who are looking at our performance, our participation, and thinking, I could do that. So we provoked the industry, and there are producers who now know Kenya exists and there's professionals there. And we know that, because we are all WSET certified sommeliers, we do know that we have a framework to work with that is international, global standards. And there's nothing as good as, and we keep going back to education and knowledge, there's nothing as good as having the basics, a framework to refer to that is in line with everyone else in the world. So everything came together so beautifully, and we are grateful to that. And the host as well, they were very forgiving, fantastic people. The owners of Champagne Ayala were so graceful. Like Cynthia, I also want to highlight that by wine number 4, we were 6th on the list. Like, we were doing so well. We were, very convinced that we had a chance, but then we dropped down to 20 something, but we're still proud we participated.
I think you should be enormously proud. I think it's just so inspiring. I have got to meet Joe because I've interviewed Pardon and we had a long talk, and Joe looms large in his life too. No one has a bad word to say about this man. So I feel like I need to meet him and give him a hug and have some wine with him. You clearly are filled up with excitement about this, and you said you're going to do it again this year. Will it be the same team this year?
Fortunately, yes, it is going to be the same team. It's going to be 4 of us. One of us has decided not to participate, but we have the minimum number, which is Soraya, Melissa, Joy, and myself. We're going to go for it.
We wish you the most luck with this. I can't wait to see what your team does this year, because I can just tell that you're on fire. And I know, getting back to what you just said about the whole idea of education, you and I both obviously really value wine education. And I know you're working on your WSET diploma as well. And you're educating people in Kenya about wine. So what advice would you give to, young girls in particular in Kenya who want to get involved in the wine sector, or, just drawing and engaging new people who haven't tried wine before? As you said, sweet drinks are more popular in that culture. And so wine is often sort of not something anybody knows about. How are you luring people in, aside from your amazing personality? How are you educating them? And what would you advise a young Kenyan girl who's 18 and she wants to get into wine? What would you tell her?
That's such a loaded question, Cynthia. Well, for the young 18-year-old female, young girl, I would say to them, the glass ceiling has been broken.
By you. Thank you.
By my team and I, there's many who came before me. I think I was just perhaps luckier or louder. But, these young girls, they have no excuse. They have role models. And also there are opportunities in the industry. We're here to mentor them. I mentor quite a few sommeliers, both male and female. And hard work pays. There's no soft life. It all looks very good the optics are fantastic on social media, but it's a hard graft. Like you mentioned earlier, long days, late nights. But they have to take interest in the world around them. There's so many places to plug in, so many areas or, micro careers within the wine industry. There's so many opportunities. How am I reeling people in? Wine education. So I mentioned during the pandemic, I had the webinars. That's the way to go. So I've got to use social media more. Wine tasting events, I've got an average of 8 wine events in a typical month, and they vary from wine and food pairing, so high-end events, to experiential, just taste, see what you like. I walk around tastings. I do an awful lot of trainings for hotel staff. And it's across the country. So Nairobi, Mombasa, Beach and Bush, so Masai Mara as well. And you know what? I think that the biggest power is being a mentor. So there's a WhatsApp group that I'm a part of. So everyone I train goes onto this WhatsApp group voluntarily. And if you're in the middle of service and you've got an odd question or an intimidating customer, then you can always call me or text, sidebar me and ask me, what do I do? He wants this kind of wine. I don't have it. What's the alternative? So I think just having that kind of accessibility as a wine educator, as a consultant, that the people coming up the rungs can bounce things off you. I think that's where I feel I'm most useful, and I would like that more people can reach out and just ask questions, and that we can support each other, because the hospitality industry in Kenya is very important, and the bulk of our fine wine sales are made in that channel, the on-trade especially, and you have all these expatriates and people who know their wines, who have high expectations, and we often don't pay attention to what is available or how much information you need to impart to enable a customer enjoy their experience. But again, that's what I'm here for. But I could still do more. There's so many things that could be done. Perhaps, Cynthia, you can help me as well.
Well, you're about to do more. One of the things I love about you is that you're not only a teacher and a mentor and an educator, but you are also still a student yourself. As I said, you're still working on your WSET diploma. So am I. I feel the pain of that. But before we even organized this interview, it turned out that you are going to come and join Vinitaly International Academy and take the flagship Italian wine ambassador course here in Verona with me in March. I'm so excited to have you. This is a program very near and dear to my heart. I took it myself. I'm an ambassador, and now I co-run it with my colleagues. So we're very excited to have you here, and I can't wait for you to tell all of your mentees back in Kenya everything you learn about Italian wine. So before I let you go, I have to ask you, what's your favorite Italian wine before you get here? Because we will give you so many wines during this course, you won't even know what to do.
Oh, I am so excited. And I can't wait to be on this course. When I come back, I'll change my Instagram to I speak Italian wine fluently.
Absolutely.
So I really enjoy different Italian wines, but top of mind, I tried a Renato Corino Barolo. I really loved that. I drink a lot of Amarone naturally in Kenya. I love my Amarones. I love my Barolo, but I love Anais so much. And I think we should drink more of Anais.
For people who are listening, Barolo and Amarone are red, and Anais is white and can also be red. So it's very interesting. That's a Piemonte wine. You will have it while you're here.
Really? It can be red. See? You've got a lot of learning to do, right? A lot of learning to do. Yes, there's quite a few Sicilian wines that are also coming to my attention now, and I'm quite enjoying those. But just Nero d'Avola just hits the spot for me every time. I think it does pair very well with our food in Kenya, which is why I gravitate towards it. But a well-made Nero d'Avola. So that's a summary of perhaps the Italian wines that I love the most. There are many I like, but those four I think would have to do for now.
Well, that's amazing. And I am really excited that you've got a good base of knowledge. You're ready to come and take this course, and you're going to have so much fun tasting probably somewhere between 100, 130 wines during the week that you take the course. And I am going to be the person who puts the pin on your jacket when you pass this exam. I'm excited to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person. So thank you so much for talking to us today and telling us about everything you're doing.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for having me. It's such an honor. And I can't wait to meet you in person and do the course as well. I must come back with a pin. But I have to say, Vinitaly is what has set me on this journey for the VIA course. And I do hope I make you proud as well.
Fantastic. All right. We'll see you soon. Thank you for listening, and remember to tune in next Wednesday when I'll be chatting with another fascinating guest. Italian Wine Podcast is among the leading wine podcasts in the world and the only one with a daily show. Tune in every day and discover all our different shows. You can find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com, SoundCloud, Spotify, Himalaya, or wherever you get your pods.